It's funny you mentioned a good time. I think when we were hanging out a little bit afterwards, after the show, and I had no shortage of adult beverages at that. But
Yes. Yeah.
I remember telling y'all that I like the fact that y'all brought a lot of fun in what y'all did. And I mean, I would generally think with a band that has the band names such as yourselves and songs like
Yeah.
1-800 Eat Shit, that there's got to be somewhat of a comedic aspect
Yeah.
to it. But
Yeah.
for sure, I think there. I don't know. Was it conscious amongst y'all to have like such a sort of fun environment when y'all play live, kind of fun party environment?
I mean, yes, like in the sense of like, we didn't want to be, we're goofy people, and it's frustrating in the heavy music community, the lack of like lightheartedness and
Yeah,
fun that exists. Not fun in the sense of like, just fun in the sense of like, why not just be a fucking dipshit? And so that was definitely something that we did with some amount of intent, and the name, lends itself to that. And it's, but we just always wanted to, the whole thing is, it's like, it's okay to like have fun on stage when you play heavy music. Like,
right.
it's okay to fucking goof around and smile. you know, like, it's not against the rules. It doesn't get you kicked out of the community. Like,
Right, right. Speaking of which, and I don't know the story about it. I'm sure you're tired of being asked the fucking
well, it's a
question,
very
but
short story, so I can tell you where it came from.
okay.
Many, many, many moons ago, Leo sat down to kind of start writing the stuff that would become Rickshaw Billies. And he literally he finished up a song, laid down to take a nap. The name popped into his head. He wrote it down. We stuck with it.
That's hilarious, really.
And that's it. Yeah.
Amazing. How did y'all meet each other to start the band?
So the concise Cliff Notes version is basically, when I moved down here with after college with some homies, we moved into this like this artist like living space apartment complex thing in Austin. And about a year after that, the dudes who lived upstairs from us, who we were homies with, who were also from like the New England area,
Okay.
Leo went to school with a few of them. So when he moved down to Austin, he moved in with them.
Ah,
We'd run into each other at like parties around the complex and stuff. And then eventually we got to talking and realized that we grew up like 20 minutes away from each other and knew some of the same people.
ah.
And then we started doing this cacophonous like 9-piece performance art shock punk band thing, and that was amusing for a little bit. And then it became ridiculously not. It was just 9 people
Oh,
in a shitty punk band. It's too much. So we stopped doing that, and then Leo started writing the Burger Patrol stuff, and I hit him up, and I was playing bass in the punk band. So like he put like a song or two that he had like programmed everything for up on Facebook, and I just hit him up. I was like, "Yo, let me get a piece of this. Like, let me play drums on this shit." And that was pretty much how we started it. And then we've had a few different members, but Aaron, when the Aaron story is also a wild one. We met Aaron because another band that I was playing in time. This is like 2018. Um, we had just got this band. It was like it's like a prog fusion hip hop dance band thing, that I was playing percussion in. And so we got a new saxophone player at one point, and then we were in rehearsal and we just went out for drinks. And one of the roommates in my apartment had left rather suddenly, and so we were trying to fill the spot. And I was talking about it, and this kid and the new sax player was just like, "Well, I was talking to a guy on Facebook, like Facebook group, who's also looking to move to Austin. Like we were supposed to move together and get a place, but it didn't quite work out. So like, can I give you this guy's number?" And I was like, "Yes, please, because rent's due in like 3 days, and I want someone else in this room." And it turned out it was Aaron. So I literally I called him up. I was like, "Yo, what are you looking to do?" And he was like, "Yo, I'm trying to leave in Atlanta. I'm trying to get to Austin. You got a spot? And I was like, yeah, I got a spot. It's cheap as shit. It's ratchet as fuck. Like, roll up. And he was like, yeah, I'll be there in 2 days. And I was like, cool, we'll see you in 2 days. And then after Aaron moved in, it just kind of like, because he's such a fucking phenomenal musician. And so we were just kind of like we were having issues with our bass player at the time, and Aaron really wanted in, and so we sat down and we fired our bass player, and we got Aaron in, and then and that's how it's been since. I think Aaron's first show with us was Halloween of 2019,
Okay.
and so it's just been the three of us since then, and now featuring we can afford a front of house person now, so now we bring front of house with us, and that's also fun.
Right.
Like,
Right. Interesting, man. You know, when I was watching y'all as well, I think it's interesting that y'all your guitarist is wait, Aaron is the guitarist, or do I have
Leo plays guitar and does lead
Leo's the
vocal.
guitarist? That's right.
Yeah,
It's wild. He's playing an eight string guitar, right?
yeah,
Like because y'all have kind of this kind of punk rock stoner thing. It's rare that you see somebody playing an eight string guitar. Usually that's going to be in the heavier, Meshuggah esque prog, whatever sort of derivation of gent. But his sounds good. I've definitely been I've
yeah,
seen some bands live before where there's like two eight-string guitars and a guy playing a six-string bass, playing the bass with his fingers, and I'm listening to it and I'm going, I can't really understand anything that I'm hearing right now.
yeah,
It's just this low rumbling kind of mesh of notes. But with I think what y'all do, it does cut. It's heavy. It's got those low moments, but I like it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool and ballsy again because not only are y'all having fun, but you got an eight-string guitar on stage.
yeah. Well, and so Leo's thing with the eight strings, he got into it. He went many, 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 many moons ago. He went do an audition with this band, and they all played eight string guitar. So he got an eight string guitar, and then he's just kind of not looked back
Yeah.
since then. And and it fits with what we do with the way he plays. Like he it's kind of we do things sort of backwards. Like Leo's not really doing chord work; he's doing like single note work.
Uh-huh.
Aaron's doing all the chording on the
Hmm.
bass,
Right.
and it just fits because like with the way because they're both playing these like split signal like stereo rigs,
Hmm.
um, and it works because on that eight string like in the registers that we're playing and like if Leo were to be doing chorded work, it would get too mucked up and fuzzy. This was the one for this tour. It was everyone was asking what we tuned to. We play in standard.
Okay.
Like Leo drop tunes his lowest sounding string
Hmm.
to an E instead of I think it's supposed to be an F sharp. So he
Uh-huh.
just takes it down to an E.
Okay.
But other than that, we're well, and Aaron does have the one bass that's in drop A,
Okay.
but for the most part, we play in standard. um, and it's just both of the guys are really they're really really smart with their tone,
Yeah.
um, and we've been doing this long enough that it's pretty much just dialed in at this point when it comes to that aspect of things.
Yeah, there are a few of y'all songs that have Weezer-like moments to my
Yeah,
ear, and I
yeah,
dig that incorporation as well. Because again, with the alchemy of everyone in the band, obviously it's going to be played completely different. But some of the spirit, or some of maybe that kind of catchy melodic aspect that Weezer has, I've heard in y'all's playing. Was that just another thing that just kind of came to be?
yeah. I mean, like because when we started this, it was like we kind of there was a lot of like bass drum of death and death from above 79
Yeah.
sort of like adjacently like Queens of the Stone Age, kind of like we wanted to be like it was like a heavy garage rock thing, and
Yep.
I think we've stuck to that spirit pretty solidly. We've definitely gotten into we all love heavy music, we all love Meshuggah and
Hmm.
Pantera and all that kind of stuff. So there's definitely some of that snuck in, and this most recent record is definitely very Primus inspired.
Interesting.
Um, but with Doom Wop especially, that was like we wanted to make really melodic, like because again, doo wop being a play on the whole doo wop thing. So
Doo-wop,
we
yeah.
wanted those melodies, we wanted the choruses, and so yeah, that was doo wop was definitely done very intentionally to have like that kind of not to yeah, but the Weezer influence was definitely like that's one that we love to get like because when people ask us like, oh, well, what do you sound like, and we're like, fuck you, like. It's definitely like one of the things that we will go to is just like, oh, I don't know, it's like primacy shit with like kind of Weezery stuff with
Right.
yeah, like with
Yeah.
know.
That's wild, man. When the band was first starting out playing and just, locally in Austin, were there some scene that y'all were into? Were there any other fun bands that y'all were playing with? Or, I mean, Austin's such a
Oh
great
yeah,
rock and roll town.
yeah, it's great, man. And this city, like everyone's like, oh, Austin's changing, and it is, and it's
Yeah.
getting weird. And there's a lot of tech now, and a lot of tech bros, and
Yeah.
Elon's got all his shit up here, but like,
Yeah.
but it's still, I mean, I still think it's the best music community. I won't say the world, but I think in the country.
Uh-huh.
It's very everyone's very supportive, and so yeah, we came up. We were playing with we were playing back then. We were playing at like Swan Dive and Beerland and
Hmm.
stuff like that, Hotel Vegas, and we were playing with the homies in Greenbeard and Billy King and the Bad Bad Bad. Those were we do like the Billy shows because it would be like when we first started traveling. We'd go out to College Station and San Antonio and Houston, and it would be like us and Greenbeard and Billy King and like, and it's funny to think that that was like technically, I guess, not that long ago. That was like 6 or 7 years ago, but
Uh-huh. You mentioned New England earlier. Whereabouts, where in the New England area were y'all? I guess you and the bass player were originally, or no, he was in
me
Atlanta.
and
Leo was,
Leo and I are from Massachusetts. Yeah,
gotcha.
I grew up in central Massachusetts, and Leo's from the South Shore
Okay.
of Boston. So that was I New England, love it to death. Glad I don't have to deal with the winters anymore.
Oh yeah, fuck that. I lived in New York for 15 years, so I was south of it,
Yeah,
but still, I was like every winter, I was like, this is the last one, and it was 15 years
yeah.
of it. I was so ready to be getting out of there. But yeah, man, Boston got some funny accents. Boy, you go up to Maine, and boy, those accents get real
The Maine
funny there.
accent is a truly special interpretation of the English language.
It really
God
is.
bless them.
It
It's
really
too early
is.
in the morning for me to attempt an impression, but it's God bless those motherfuckers. Those silly rednecks.
This is like Canadian
Like,
Northeast Coast rednecks.
it's all rednecks all live up in Maine, and they're hilarious.
Yeah, when I was in New York, I would drive up there just on an extended weekend and go hang out in Bar Harbor and eat fucking
Yeah,
lobster and drink wine,
yeah, mm,
and hang out with the townies at the bars and shit. And I
fuck
don't
yeah,
know, I love it up there, dude. It's not only is it's well, it's unbelievably beautiful, one of the most beautiful areas in the
very
states.
much.
But God, yeah, I love it up there. Damn.
It's just good,
Yeah,
it always, especially if you go in the fall and you can catch the good weather, like
yeah,
the leaves and everything. Like, oh,
absolutely. That was the time I'd go up there for the turning of the leaves.
yeah,
Absolutely, dude. The
yeah,
weather. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my God. When we hung out a little bit as well, you had mentioned that you had been digging like into some King Crimson.
Where the Crimson thing really started for me was we had like after we had graduated college, like in the summer between graduation and moving down to Texas, we were living in me and the boys were living in this tiny ass apartment, and we all had we back then the Pirate Bay and everything, so everyone was like bootlegging everything all the time,
Hmm.
and so we had gotten our hands on this. It was like Crimson in Japan in like the early '90s because it was on the Frack tour because they were
Oh,
playing like
interesting. Okay. Yeah,
and
yeah.
shit like that,
Right.
and the way that video was shot, and then just the playing with Bill Bruford and Pat Mastelotto, and Adrian Belew still in the band at that point. It was
Yeah.
just like it's just like what the fuck, man. Like, it, it's just
Autism. That's what. A lot of
it is
autism.
autism. It is autism. The band, but
Yeah.
but it's so good. And then like, just the way that, like, especially in that era when it was just like the way Fripp was writing, and then like Patton and Bill Bruford just like figuring out like, okay, what's like, how can we like really fuck with this and like
Yeah.
do weird shit, or even just like on shit like frame by frame, like how about let's just run it exactly down the middle of this weirdly complicated odd meter thing, and we're just gonna play as straight as humanly possible, like,
Right.
and just like those kind of like listening to that and breaking all that shit down. It's just like it's so cool what they were doing back then. Like what they were
Yeah.
doing forever. Everything they've done is
Yeah.
fucking cool now.
Right.
But like, but that era especially, it's just like it's just so good.
Yeah. I was telling you and anyone that's listening that's interested in it, one of this guitarist that I know told me that it was his favorite record, and he's been jogging to it for years. It's the Live in U.S. King
Yeah,
Crimson. So it's the Wetton, Bruford, Fripp era trio. So like, what's that? Red, Starless Bible Black, and Lark's Tongue and Aspic. Those three
I believe
records.
so. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
that lineup, 70s, and man, that shit is amazing. I've got it on vinyl, and at one point they end it they play in the court of the Crimson King, and I was imagining not knowing anything about that band, and like one of your buddies says, "Hey, let's go check out this band called King Crimson." You
yeah,
walk in at a time where you have zero perspective about what someone like that does and how heavy that song is, and like a lot of just how dark and odd so
yeah.
much of it was. You kind of have a sense where if you transport yourself to back then, it must have been a little bit of a mind fuck to see them around that time.
No one had figured out how to, like, that was such an era where like people could honestly make sounds that no one else had figured out how to ever make before.
Right.
Like it, oh my god, it must have been insanity.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy? You mentioned Adrian Belew. What's wild about Adrian Belew, I think he's probably the only guy to ever play with Frank Zappa that didn't read music. Uh,
Yeah,
and and
yeah,
Frank was like, all right, this guy can play all this other stuff by ear somehow miraculously, so I guess he won't have to read the music. He's gonna have to learn it all by ear, which is his own nightmare. But then also played, with Talking Heads. So it's like, damn, man, between Crimson, Zappa, Talking Heads, he's done some work with David Bowie. Like Adrian
yeah.
Belew is a special, and you know what? I think he's from like Kentucky.
Yeah, he's definitely from somewhere nondescript.
Yeah, yeah. I assumed, I don't know, a major city, New York or something. I don't know. I
Yeah,
definitely did not expect Kentucky, but an amazing son of a bitch nonetheless.
whatever was in the water, it was working. Like,
For real,
your dude
man.
can fucking play.